Thanks for hopping on this webinar this evening. We are so excited to be working with ECP Assisted Living Software. We have Loren Odom here, who is the Senior Accounting Executive with this company, and I'm just so excited to hear his presentation and learn all about the software that he has to help your assisted living home. So I don't want to take up any more time. I'm going to pass it over to you, Loren. Oh, sorry, one last thing. If you have questions during the presentation, please ask them in the question box, and we will have a short Q&A after the presentation, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. All right, go ahead, Loren, take over. I'm excited to learn all about your software.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jamie. I really appreciate it. So as you see here, I'm really going to go through the 10 questions to ask before buying assisted living software. I do want to start off by introducing myself once again. As she said, my name is Loren Odom. I'm one of the senior account executives here at ECP. I've been with the company now going on about 3 years. However, my experience in assisted living and even residential assisted living really goes back to about 10 years. And the reason that is because I actually was a long-term care administrator. So I was also a customer of ECP. So right out of college, I came right in and I was supervisor, worked my way up to administrator. And one of my first tasks was to get the community off of paper and get them all the way in through to implementing ECP there. So definitely worked with ECP from a customer standpoint, and now very happy to work with them as a senior account executive there on the sales end. A little bit about ECP. ECP stands for Extended Care Professional. Our software company was founded in 2004, and we were created as a EHR/eMAR for specifically assisted living. And the whole idea was to have a cheaper alternative to SNF/skilled nursing facility software. So there really wasn't an opportunity, or should I say, there really wasn't a whole lot of tools for assisted living in that time. So during 2004, 2005 time. So we really started to focus on assisted living software and really provided the tools for assisted living there. And as we look at it now, fast forward to about 18 years later, our current presence here, we operate in all 50 states here in the U.S. We are centrally located out of Wisconsin. However, now, like I said, we service about 6,500 communities nationwide. We also operate abroad. And we also work with hundreds of pharmacy partners nationwide. So, and when we say work with them, that means integrate with them. So when it comes to all of their pharmacy information, that will flow through ECP, through the pharmacy connection, and you see that information in live time. So we'll talk about what that looks like from interfacing and really asking those important questions. So without any further ado, I appreciate you guys listening to my intro. I want to go ahead and talk about the 10 questions to ask before buying assisted living software. So obviously you guys have a lot on your mind as you are beginning this journey to starting a residential assisted living. And when it comes to vendors, we recognize that software is really just a small percentage. However, in that small percentage comes big consequences if you don't ask these important questions, before you really get into contracts, agreements, things like that, really making sure that the software you're looking at fits the mold of the residential assisted living and the AL focus in general. So the first thing, and it's a perfect segue into the first question, 1 out of 10 here, is going to be, is the software built for assisted living? Now, there are dozens, if not close to 100 different softwares out there in the industry. However, as residential assisted living, as assisted living in general, you really have to look at it and say, hey, is this software unique to assisted living? Making sure that the tools inside of it don't actually talk to the abilities of skilled nursing facilities or clinics or even hospital style software. So really being able to work through it from an assisted living standpoint. So really making sure, is this built within my scope? So that has to be the primary question right out the gate. That's an easy qualifier. And that's the one thing with ECP that we do guarantee. That's been our focus since day one as assisted living, and will continue to be as we go on. And we work with IDD as well. However, making sure that it's built for assisted living there. The next question, and a lot of times people will say this should be the first question. However, is assisted living software affordable? So really making sure the product you're using, is it going to break the bank? Are they looking at massive implementation fees? Are you looking at a contract that's going to have you in it for 10, 20 years? Believe it or not, some people look at that. And then from definitely what people don't always think about from an affordable standpoint is it going to work with certain devices that are going to be affordable? Do I have to get certain devices that may be outside of my price range as I'm developing this company from the ground up? So really making sure that not only is the software affordable, but the devices to use the software, will that be affordable as well? I mean, there are some people out there have kiosk versions. Other people, certainly may force you to buy the most top of the line laptop or desktop computer to run their software, or even running the actual internet. When it comes to ECP, none of that is going to be the truth there. So definitely making sure, is it affordable, and all components of it, really from that affordability. So definitely paying attention to, that second question there. The next question is going to be a really important one too, as they all are. However, this one's near and dear to me as a user, and that's going to be, is it easy to use? Okay, is it really going to be a product that your staff, yourself, is going to have an easy time using? We recognize that software, especially ECP, should not be a tool used for hours and hours at a time. If you're sitting down at your community and you're spending more time in front of that computer instead of more time in front of those residents and taking care of them, that there's no way that it's going to be efficient software. So making sure that it's easy to use and doesn't take an over amount of time to implement. That definitely is going to be something you really want to look at. And then in addition to the ease of use, there's going to be, is it logically organized? As when you log in and you look at the dashboard, as you see as the graphic here, are you going to see something that makes sense to you? Is it going to make sense to your staff from that standpoint? Are you going to be able to visually see your company in your software? And from the organization standpoint, will you be able to see everything at once? Are you going to be able to look at all your residents and see your census? Those are all options that you do have to take into consideration here. And then additionally, from an ease of use standpoint, is going to be from a complex features, really looking at it, is it going to, when you open up the screen, is your staff going to get so frustrated that they're going to shut it down and beg for paper back? That's something that you really want to consider. Or is it going to be software that is going to flow through the natural organization of their day? So for example here, this is going to be our medication dashboard here to pass the meds. As you pass meds here, it goes incomplete status. So every time you pass the medication, it's going to tally it off, and then your staff members will know these are only the medications I have left to pass. So definitely making sure it's easy enough to use to make sure your staff is getting that efficient experience. So definitely an important question to use, and I'm sorry, an important question to ask, and really go through those bullet points, right? And really see if it checks off all those boxes for you. All right, next question here. It really has to do with access. And the biggest question there is going to be, can I access the software from anywhere at any time? And you'll see here on the graphic, we do have a mobile device. However, the biggest thing that you can take away from ECP and really answer that question with confidence is the software cloud-based? Okay, and what that means is does it depend on hardware installation, or once again, do you need a kiosk? Or just as ECP, is it a true cloud-based software where you can log in from anywhere at any time, and does it maintain that security? So definitely, that's kind of sneaking in a question down the line, but definitely want to talk about, is it cloud-based, and how are you going to evaluate the user experience across all of the devices here? So as you see here, ECP can be used on cell phones, it can be used on tablets, it can be used on desktop computers, as well as laptops there. So definitely want to know, is it going to limit me, when it comes to choosing devices and access as well? So definitely, want to ask that question about access as well. All right, next question here. Will I be able to customize it to suit my operations? So many of you on this webinar here are in the process of learning exactly what your operations may be, right? That you may be new to assisted living and new to the operations in general. So you don't want to get a software that is going to even further convolute the processes there, even a process that you're already in the process of learning, if that makes sense. So with ECP, we certainly follow the natural motions again of assisted living there. So really looking at it and saying, hey, is the processes within this software matching exactly what I need out of it? So does that mean, the big question attached to this is it customizable? Can I make it fit my needs? And the big, answer to that with ECP is 100% here. And as you'll see on, some of these graphics here, we have incident reporting. We have a report editor here that allows you to go ahead and put in, regardless of what state you're in, you're able to use state documents, have them, input into our system and really customize them to your need. Whether that is the state of Arizona, the state of Wisconsin, the state of California, you really want to make sure that whatever software you use, and ECP could be that option here, and really, give you the customization is going to be, hey, is it going to suit me? Do they have the ability to get the state forms that I need in the system and make sure that it matches my operations? So definitely asking about the customization. I certainly think that is definitely something you want to, ask out the gate. All right, next question here. And this is always a hot topic, definitely something that comes up daily throughout demos, and that is going to be, does it integrate with other systems? This is something that is huge in the world. We want to be able to log in one operation and be able to take care of multiple tools under that one login. And that is something that ECP does, but it does that through integration. And how that works is certainly going to be through the primary integration, and that's going to be integrating with pharmacies. So many of you, as you once again start your journey in assisted living here, have probably started thinking about medication components and medication management. And a lot of that medication management comes from integrations in a relationship with pharmacy partners. So you really have to evaluate your eMAR tool, which is electronic medication administration records, as well as your EHR tools, and really say, hey, will it integrate with my pharmacy? Will it integrate with one of my most important partners out there? ECP recognizes that, and any good software recognizes that as well, that one of your most important partnerships will be between your assisted living and that pharmacy there. And really being able to share that information in live time. So good software, appropriate software should be able to integrate with your most important partner there, which is going to be the pharmacy. And as I mentioned, ECP does integrate with over 650 pharmacies nationwide. So definitely, in a good position to, check off that box from the integration standpoint. The next thing, as we talk about integrations, is certainly going to be from a care planning standpoint. So really looking at it from the mode of, am I going to be able to take all of the EHR information in the system? And when I say EHR, that stands for electronic healthcare records and care planning. So the information like toileting, as well as showers and skincare regimens. Am I going to be able to export that information and prove that to the state, or export that and share that with a family member as they sign off on the care plan? So not only does it, you have to worry about integration, but does it report well? So that really does, and that is something that has to come into play. And one of the ways that intertwines with integrations is ECP has a mode of being able to report using PDFs as well as using Excel and CSV files. And for those of you on the call that maybe have an accounting background, or maybe have a financial background, you know very well that Excel and CSV files are one of the primary languages to really be able to import into some accounting softwares and things of that sort. So definitely, as you look at your software, you want to ask, okay, not only will it integrate, but how does it export when it comes to reporting? And ECP does, once again, check both of those boxes there from an exporting and integration standpoint. Wonderful. Next question here, support. is their support and training. So without a doubt, as you are shopping around, you will run into many different companies that have are maybe in the states, maybe out of the states, maybe they're local to your specific state that you have. However, one thing that that always is going to be a focal point is going to be how long and how involved will you be, regardless of where the software is headquartered. How they're going to be involved in the training and the overall process, and definitely. Are they going to bend to my needs when it comes to ongoing support and ongoing training? And that certainly is something that you must evaluate. And that is also something that ECP out the gate helps you with. We assign you an implementation specialist as soon as you sign up with us. And then from there, that implementation specialist will take you all the way through the whole going live process and training process. And then from there, you even get a customer success manager. And that person will help you navigate through the whole life cycle of your account and help you navigate through our 24-hour support. So we recognize that it's not just important for you to get the software, it's even more important for you to be able to get it and use the software efficiently. And we know that that is part of the training and the support that you get. And as we go ahead and talk a little bit more about that team, as you see there that it's listed out, you really start with someone like myself as an account executive, someone introducing you to the platform, and that takes you to the implementation specialist, as I told you, and then that will lead you through customer success and then our support. So really being able to say, hey, not only do I have one point of contact, I have multiple teams that are ensuring my success. Now that's something that if you really want to test the competition out there, really test them, really ask them, okay, how many teams are going to help me get through and get me to the finish line? How many people are going to be involved in making sure I'm successful? That really should always be a hot question there for you. Wonderful. All right. The next question here, definitely going to be part of the same token. There is actually going to be a part of the, is there support and training there? Additionally, is going to be, what about your personal tools? In addition to not always having to pick up the phone and call your software company or call ECP, what else do they provide you with from a training standpoint? And what you're looking at here on the graphic is going to be actually our knowledge base. So we not only provide implementation for you, we have a host of videos and webinar series that really will go through and break down our software and show how it will be useful to your specific setting. And this is something that our implementation specialists will help you through, guide you through these videos, as well as something that you can watch at your leisure and assign to your staff and really hold them accountable for this. So, and it's not just limited to how we are able to use ECP. It does help you with additional healthcare opportunities. So it will help you train your staff on other items like passing insulin and things of that sort. So definitely providing you with educational resources. That is definitely something you can add when you're talking about training and support for your eMAR software. All right, next question. Will it improve my staff's efficiency? So one of the biggest competitors to us, believe it or not, is paper. Old school pen and paper here. That is where a lot of assisted livings are doing their documentation still to this day. And one of the biggest things about paper documentation is the lack of efficiency that you see there. When you're using pen and paper, you're at the mercy of natural disaster. You're at the mercy of error when it comes to maybe just someone writing the wrong issue, forgetting to write, and nobody jumping back up and saying, hey, there's a hole in the MAR, which is the medication administration record. So you really are at the mercy, once again, of what could happen to that paper. Now, when it comes to ECP and eMAR software specifically, you want to ask, how is it going to make me more efficient? Is it going to make it more, it's going to take more time for me to pass a medication or perform a care. Just because you're adding electricity or technology to the sequence doesn't always mean it's going to be more efficient. So you really got to ask yourself, in the background, is it going to, are these tools going to be easy to use? As you see here, you're able to use it on an iPad on the go. You can have that with you as you go in and help your clients directly in their room. So always thinking about, access to the software is certainly something you want to really gauge when you're talking about efficiency. Next thing there, when we're talking about efficiency, is going to be alert systems. Really going to say, hey, is it going to make sure my staff knows about overdue items or all the important information throughout the building? So ECP not only has alerts to remind you about overdue meds, but it also has notifications to let you know about important messagings. Maybe you have door codes that have changed, or maybe you have policy updates, or maybe you have a resident that's going to be discharged or whatnot. You certainly want to be able to go again and say, hey, when it comes to efficiency, what is it going to do for my communication, and make sure that errors aren't being committed as well. So definitely something there to consider with the alerts and whatnot. The next thing there, when we talk about efficiency, is going to be reducing redundant data. So one of the biggest processes and systems that your nursing and clinical staff members will go through will be generating assessments, care plans, and ultimately the daily tasks. So what's going to be required of your staff daily to perform, or to complete their care plan items. So if this process is on paper today, what that looks like is going to be completing an assessment and then using that assessment to generate a care plan. And then that care plan, you'll go ahead and take the outcomes and the desired tasks out of that to create a daily task list. Now, if you're doing that on pen and paper and even some modulated software, that could take hours, because you're doing 3 separate reports here. However, with ECP, we take that all 3 steps and we put that into one. How we do that is we have you generate we generate a state assessment for you. So depending on what state you have, or what state you're located in, we will have that state assessment for you. And based on that, you're able to add tasks to that assessment. And those tasks will thus generate daily tasks for your staff members to chart on daily. So for example, bathing, dressing, meals, you name it. When it comes to generalized care, that's all going to be documented in that assessment. And in a matter of 35 minutes to an hour, you're able to complete that assessment, and you won't have to follow up with another care plan and another daily task, because it's pulling all of those items from that assessment. So that definitely is something that's much easier to show in an actual ECP demo. However, as we talk about redundancy, and efficiency, you want to think about it from that standpoint. Will it limit the amount of paperwork that I have to do, or will it expedite it? And as you see here, one of ECP's best features is, once again, taking that assessment, care plan, and daily tasks, rather that being 3 steps, we get that down to 1. So you really want to ask those questions, important questions when we're talking about efficiency. Question, another hot topic. Will it help me remain HIPAA compliant? Many of you, once again, are entering the healthcare space, maybe for the first time, or maybe re-entering it. And as you enter, this is going to be one of the first acronyms that you get smacked with, HIPAA, right? And maintaining the privacy of your staff members, and most importantly, of your residents, right? So maintaining all of that. So really, you got to ask yourself, I do think this probably may have been towards the top of the question list too, from a HIPAA or from a compliance standpoint. But really looking at it, will this keep me out of trouble from a state standpoint? The next thing is going to be from an audit, from a peace of mind standpoint. Does it have logs so I'm able to go through and not only manage my building, but manage my staff? So as you see here, you're able to go in and see what staff members are logging into the system, where they're logging in from via their IP address, and what they're doing in the system. So if you potentially have some a rogue employee or rogue nurse that's changing passwords and shouldn't be doing items like that, you should be able to have that oversight. So you really do want to ask, about compliance and really looking at that audit log there and seeing if that's a possibility. The next thing too is going to be building compliance. Just as much as you are going to be spending time ensuring that you're taking care of those residents, it's going to be equally, maybe not equally, but the state may sometimes feel like it, equally important to feel like you got to take care of that building, right? So from making sure the building is in safe conditions, right? So will your software allow you to efficiently take care and remain compliant from a building code standpoint? So as you see here, ECP will do that. Will allow you, if you have delayed egress doors, if you have a fire detection system, sprinkler system, maintaining those yearly or annual checks, should they say, fire inspection. So will your software have the tools to not only take care of your residents, but also, like I said, take care of the building, take care of your organization? So definitely another great question to ask there for you. And then the next thing here is going to be, will it help me remain compliant? So from that standpoint, really looking at it, will it build and upload reports? So I apologize, I've read the title again. But will allow me to build reports and upload customized reports. So as you see that again, we talked about ECP. One of ECP's features is that you are able to upload state reports, and our team, our compliant team here, will work with you to make sure that the PDF format will remain the same there for you, as long as it is a state report. But we also give you the option to generate even your own report. So even if it's not a state report, but this is something you guys are comfortable using, maybe a nurse has given you an idea for an assessment that you can tie in, we give you the tools to create and customize those reports. So as much as you're entering, we focus on getting the data into ECP, we allow you to customize it and also extract it. So you're able to build customized reports as well. So, if you have resident face sheet data, you really are able to build a report and pull that information out. So certainly, as you go through and once again ask those big questions, how am I, will it help me remain compliant? You do want to talk about HIPAA compliance, the audit logs, keeping track of the staff. And then once again, those state assessments and really making sure you remain in good graces of the state there. And then finally, before I move on from compliance here, access. That definitely is something that really comes up, staff access, and really looking at, how do I manage staff access to remain compliant? And that is definitely something ECP will allow you to do within the system. Great. All right. So the next question here. Will my data be secure? So, what does it look like from, preventative measures and avoid, outside, entry when it shouldn't be? So the first thing we do here is definitely we do give the multi-factor authentication there. We have that company login versus an employee login. So we do allow you to make sure you are locking down your devices. So to make sure that your staff members can't just use their employee information to log in with their personal devices. So we make sure we do give you that, the 2 sets of login credentials there. And then we don't allow generic passwords within, the software there. So a lot of the times, people allow you to just put in, sequences of numbers. ECP will go the extra mile, make sure that, generic passwords, and we'll force you to update those passwords as well. So definitely something we make sure, from a secure standpoint and access standpoint there. Okay. Next area from a secure standpoint is going to be the user group component. So not only, do you have to worry about outside sources, coming in, you want to worry, not necessarily worry about, but you do want to talk about the access internally, so as far as what rights my staff members have within the system. And the good news about that is ECP will what we call manage the user group. So you're able to assign your staff members to each user group there. So you're able to either put them in like a system administrator or make them someone that has very heightened access and can oversee everything and make the necessary changes. Or they can go into the system as a med passer, somebody that has a restricted view, maybe simplified view, and really be able to focus in on just their task at hand, whether that just be meds or cares there. The whole idea behind that, though, is going to be security. Okay, you don't want staff members being able to access resident files that they shouldn't, or parts of resident files that they shouldn't be able to see, as well as not delete anything that needs to be put into the system. And the other thing too is that, with us being cloud-based, you're able to manage the security from.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Sorry about that. You're able to manage that, from, a outside location. So as you see, if you have controlled substance count concerns, or you have an issue, at the location that you need to access remote, you're able to get so, through a secure company login and presentation that way. So you really are going to be, surely, secure in that asset there. So fantastic, fantastic. All right, so that does wrap up the 10 questions there. So I do want to review them as we look here on the screen. So right at the top, is it built for assisted living? So first and foremost, definitely check that off. Once again, ECP is without a doubt built for assisted living. We started first with assisted living in 2004 and still today serving many assisted livings around the country there. Is it affordable? That is definitely a big question that you need to ask there. ECP offers flat rates for smaller bed communities, makes it affordable for you as well as affordable from an implementation standpoint. And we run promotions as well for implementation. So really definitely checking off that affordability. And what do they bill you for surrounding it, right? So going back again, making sure that the devices and the investment surrounding the software is affordable as well. The third question there, just as a recap as we go through, is going to be, is it easy to use? So once again, is it user-friendly? Is this something that, someone with a high school education or someone who's never ever used software before can just use it right away and really get, right into it and not have a problem with it, especially with the training tools that we have. And then finally, the next one is going to be, accessible from anywhere. Is it cloud-based? Once again, that can definitely be in parentheses there. Access from anywhere. Is it cloud-based or is this going to be hardware? The next thing, is it customizable? We went through that extensively with ECP about adding customizable reports, pulling customizable reports when it comes to vitals and you name it there. And then, is it integratable? Is it really going to work with other entities, other vendors of mine, from a pharmacy, obviously the most important piece there, and is it going to allow me to extract information? So definitely checking a box there. Once again, as ECP integrates with hundreds of pharmacies nationwide, as well as support and training. That's a big question mark, right? Are they going to sign me up and leave me on my way, or do I sign up and do I have multiple teams responsible for my success? So you certainly think about the latter when it comes to ECP, and definitely we certainly do have a strong support and strong implementation team here. Improving efficiency, once again, as a recap, will it make my day or my residents and my staff days easier? Is it going to improve my systems in play? Or is it going to make me feel as though I'm spending hours in front of this computer or hours in front of this device spinning my wheels? You certainly want to be able to ask that. And as we look at ECP, once again, it really is going to drive the natural functions of an assisted living there. So as you go through, we talk about those assessments, we talk about med passing, we talk about making sure you have all the necessary tools that the state's driving for you or the overall industry is driving. And then the next thing here, question number 8 is going to be, is it compliant? Remember, as a recap there, regardless of what state you come into, no matter what state you're calling in from, you're going to be at the mercy of those state compliance surveyors and those auditors. So the last thing you want is to have a software that is going to, get you in trouble with them right away and make sure, and create an unsafe environment. So definitely, looking at it from a compliance standpoint is always huge. And then finally, what we wrapped up on is security. You can never be, too secure, especially when you're talking about resident data and employee data, within the system. So if you haven't caught on by too much, I think I said it a lot here, you would be without a doubt in good hands with ECP as we check off a lot of those boxes. But we do think that it's very important that you ask those questions to everyone, that you come in contact when it comes to, eMAR, EHR software. Make sure that, though we check these boxes, we're confident, that these questions can be asked and you'll come right back to us, knowing that we're able to answer the majority of those. So just as a little recap, like I said before, we do work with 6,500 communities, and there's about a million plus cares tracked in our software daily. Over 500 pharmacy partners. I do think that needs to be updated. We're closer to 600 these days. And we do work all around the country here, and we do work in South Africa and Australia. So you certainly would be joining a large ECP family. So you certainly would be that. And the whole idea is just to make sure that, at the end of the day, when you log into the software, you're confident that the information that you're putting in there is, going to match your processes. It's going to be appropriate for your care home, and you're not making that mistake there. You're not putting your business and putting your new investment in a situation where you're in a couple years you're going to say, oh no, I wish I went in a different direction. And how you stop that mistake there is by, once again, asking those questions. So I do appreciate your time today, and I hope that you learned something today and really saw some insight into some of those questions there. So without any further ado, I want to put my contact information up here. I did end a little bit early here, so we do have a lot of time here for questions here. So I definitely want to make sure we know that. But feel free, if you do want to request a demo, you certainly will be able to do so by using the QR code there. And then if you have some time, you want to jot down my contact information, please feel free to email me. My number is on the screen as well. I do use LinkedIn too, so if you would add me on LinkedIn, but certainly would love to host a demo and see if ECP would be a good choice for your company. Great, awesome. Demi, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Loren. That was awesome. Yeah, I highly encourage the demo. That sounds like a great feature to kind of see if it's a good fit for you. But yeah, we do have some questions, so we'll get started with those.
Awesome.
First one is, where is the data stored?
So the data is going to be stored on our hosting service. So it is a cloud-based, it's called Data Bank. And then from there, you will always have access to it. So at that point, a lot of times people ask, is it stored somewhere? If I don't want to use your services anymore, how would I access it? Things of that sort. So it will always remain on our data bank hosting services, which is a clinical-based hosting network.
Okay, and how secure is the software that it's stored on?
Oh, it is very, very secure. So to put it into, I guess, reference here, we have one of the highest security ratings in the industry. We come in at a 99 percentile and have a score of, I believe, like 89. Most of our competitors, and that score isn't like based off of 100, it's based off of some obscure number, but most of our competitors are in the 60s and the 50s range when it comes to that security score there. So overall, we rank above our competition in security, especially from a third-party evaluator. And then ultimately, it comes down to the history, right? So knock on wood here, it's going to ask you, breaches, things of that sort. We certainly have a clean record at that point. So I would definitely say very secure.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely super important with all the sensitive information going on. So that's great. Then we have another one. Yeah, another question coming in. What is the cost of the software?
Absolutely. So we have a minimum pricing which comes in that covers up to 10 residents. So whether you have one resident all the way up to 10, that minimum pricing is $150 a month. And what that includes is $125 base rate and a $25 company location fee. So to say that's like a flat rate that covers all of your staff members. So 125 plus the 25 gives you that 150 for the flat rate for individuals under 10 residents. Once you go above 10 residents, I know some individuals have, maybe a duplex or something like that. They have a side-by-side, maybe have 8 in one location, 8 in another. Anything above 10, you're going to be looking at $11 per resident a month, and then with that same $25 location fee. So, that definitely will, always be kind of a flat rate.
Okay.
And then I apologize,
awesome.
Jamie. I do want to talk, but we do have implementation fees as well. However, we certainly are always run promotions too. So, depending if you, have any questions, about implementation, things like that, or other pricing, I certainly would like to follow up with you.
Okay, great. All right, got another one relating to the way the data is stored. So they asked, will you provide proof, like a report, that the software is free of vulnerabilities?
So I am able to provide a class report. I'm also able to provide that security scorecard. So I believe that those are two items that I am able to provide with. Outside of that, I'm not sure what else you would necessarily require or would be looking for. I'll be happy to talk to you directly if this, something you want to consider.
Okay,
But
great.
to answer the question, it would be the class report and the security scorecard, though. I would be able to provide that for you.
Okay, awesome. All right, our next one is, does my staff need to have medical or a technical background to use the software?
Great question. So I would 100% say no. I would say the only background they would need would be, do they know how to use email, or do they know how to use social media? Because those are just the necessary experience that will, translate over. Because it's really as simple as, do they know how to upload a picture, upload something to an email? That's some of the easier, some of the more difficult items you have to see in ECP, but it's very, very user friendly, very one-click base, and very easy to learn from that standpoint, because it once again, it follows the logic of assisted living. So if they may not be tech savvy, but they know assisted living, then by all means, they'll be able to see how it will flow through and match some of the systems they're already, accustomed to, maybe in a paper format.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds pretty user friendly from what it sounds like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we've got next one. How do medications get into ECP?
Good question. Good question. So that really goes back to the integrations, right? So when we talked about asking that question, does it integrate with some of your important partners? And that one of your most important partners, as I said, is going to be the pharmacy. So getting that integration with the pharmacy allows the medication information to flow through directly from the pharmacy. So what we have is a pharmacy check-in. So we are just going to be listening to the pharmacy software and taking all of that data as it pertains to your residents there. So really going to be pretty efficient and very live in that standpoint. Now, ECP is usable without the pharmacy interface, so you are able to manually enter. So for example, if you just have a couple residents, maybe 3 or 4, and you want to give them, pharmacy choice. So maybe they want to use a Walgreens, or they want to use a retail-based pharmacy that normally doesn't operate with long-term care. Certainly you're able to do that, and then you would be able to manually enter the meds, which is very, very simple to do as well, as long as you have just a couple residents to do. So whether you're manually entering them or you have that pharmacy integration, that's where the meds will come from. And once again, something I would very happily show you in a demo, very easy to demonstrate.
Great. All right, so another one, like another follow-up, I guess this one. So can you work with multiple pharmacies in the software?
Absolutely. So you are able to connect to multiple pharmacies. The only caveat there is that one resident can't be linked to 2 pharmacies. So obviously we want to just make sure only one pharmacy is providing, medication per resident, but you can absolutely connect to multiple pharmacies. I've seen as much as 3 or 4.
Wow, great, awesome. Okay, what if my caregivers are fluent in another language?
So we do have Spanish-speaking support staff members, as well as the ability to use Google Translate on some of our reports and things like that. However, that is certainly an area that we are looking to improve and really add for some of our bilingual and other languages out there. So right now, though, we are limited to English and Spanish.
Okay, great. And then we got one more here. Is there a billing option with the software?
Good question. So at this time, we don't integrate with any billing software, and our billing components will rely in more of exporting manner. So you are able to log time in, time out. You are able to show, rent roll and show someone's level of care throughout the software. However, you are unable to perform like a transaction, more or less, have an A&G if you haven't, maybe if you've heard of that before. So you would need to, export. Well, once again, ECP uses CSV files and has relationship with Intuit, or QuickBooks, if you've heard of them. So you are able to use our software to export into Intuit, via CSV files and Excel there. So that would be the level of billing. So it would be more or less, you would be able to track everything within ECP. However, you would then export it into a partner like Intuit or a QuickBooks, and that would be what you would use to more or less invoice and perform those transactions.
Awesome. Okay, we got another one that just popped
Okay.
through. Any integration with time and attendance for caregivers?
Another good one. Yeah, so unfortunately right now we don't have an integration with the time clock. That is something we are working towards. We do have the ability for you to track when the staff member has logged in and where they logged in from, and then when they have logged out. So you are able to see both of those touch points. But once again, that would be something that you would have to export or take that information into another software. But once again, something we are working towards, but we definitely don't have that right now.
Awesome. Well, a lot of great ideas from these questions for potential improvements there. So, okay, that is all of the questions we have. So, yeah, thank you, Loren, for, again, taking the time to give this presentation and give us all this awesome information. I have put Loren's information in the chat to everybody, but obviously it's still on the screen. So be sure to take advantage of that QR code and get a demo if this is something you're interested in, and contact him. He's also going to be at our national convention. That's going to be next week. It's going to be September 29th through October 2nd. He is going to be there in person, so you can meet him, get your questions answered. I'm sure they'll probably have a demo at their booth as well. So yeah, that is it for tonight. Thank you guys for joining us, and hope to see you at the national convention. And you will be getting a recording of this webinar as well tomorrow in your email. So be on the lookout for that if you kind of want to rewatch it and get more information out of it the second time you watch it. So, all right, everybody, thanks. Good night.
Bye-bye now.